the assistant coaches said, yeah, your quarterback's next door at the middle school, which, we kind of all laughed. He's like, I'm serious. There's a guy over there, Tyler Warren, who's dunking in basketball games right now.
As a physical athlete, he's a super athlete.
He's one of my favorite players I've watched. Arguably one of the greatest tight ends ever playing this conference. I might say he is. There's been some great ones.
I've been fortunate to be coaching for a long time, over 30 years, but the combination of skills go along with intelligence. He's definitely the most complete tight end, and he's the most versatile player that I've ever coached.
The Penn State Punisher is a different animal. He can do everything on the football field, like Taysom Hill, but with the actual tight end skills of Greg Olsen. Tyler Warren can pass, catch, block, make you miss, run you over, run away from you, and create separation like a top-tier tight end. I'll show you film and break down plays to highlight why Warren is one of the top 10 prospects in this class without question. But first, let's go down memory lane of all the first-round tight ends selected in the past 8 years. There was David Njoku, Evan Ingram, O.J. Howard, Hayden Hurst, Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson, Kyle Pitts, and Brock Bowers. Now, everyone on that list except Bowers and Pitts are laughable prospects compared to Warren. Of course, Hawkinson and Ingram have really shown to be great tight ends, but as prospects, there are only two guys with talent comparable to Warren, and that's again Pitts and Bowers. But Warren is a very different tight end than both those guys. In some ways, he's much more traditional, with more size and ability to block in line, really adding a lot to the run game. But in some ways, he's also much more unique because he can play fullback or wildcat quarterback and still line up out wide the way you often see Bowers and Pitts used. The NFL is constantly changing, and a significant evolution happening right now is in the importance of the run game. The top 6 offenses in rushing yards a game all made the playoffs, while the bottom 8 all missed it. Look at some of the most dominant teams in the NFL this year, like the Eagles, Lions, and Ravens, and they all have heavily relied on the run game. Warren can have such a positive effect in the run game with his 260-plus pound frame, sealing off defensive ends for runs outside the tackle or climbing up to backers and secondary players with good footwork to make key blocks on explosive runs. Bowers is a fine blocker in space, but he can't handle the strength of an edge the way Warren does. Also, Warren shows his competitive nature in the run game when he blocks to the whistle, which is again going to aid an offense looking to create explosive runs. This is an overlooked part of the tight end position for a lot of social media scouts, but it is an important piece to Warren's game for NFL teams interested in him. However, Warren can do the fun stuff too. The stuff that gets tight ends their monster paydays. Warren is an absolute nightmare in the passing game, where he holds the record for most receiving yards by any tight end in Big Ten history. And by the way, his 1,233 yards this season crushed the previous record by 251 yards. So how does Warren dominate as a pass catcher? Man, it's in so many ways, and I'll show you them right after you hit that like and subscribe button. I'm a small channel, so any support you give me really means a lot. Now back to Warren. Pop on a highlight tape, and the first thing you'll notice is his ability to climb the ladder and moss fools like he doesn't weigh 260 or something. I mean, his vertical and his ball skills are ridiculous for a guy his size. He shows great concentration, strong hands, and athleticism to make incredible contested catches. He had 13 contested catches on the season, which would have tied for second most in the NFL, but he caught these contested targets at a higher percentage than the other two guys. He also has elite body control to contort and make difficult off-target catches. So his skills when the ball is in the air really are not comparable, in my opinion, to another tight end at the moment, but most comparable to Mike Evans. He truly is that special. Pair that with his 6'6", 260-pound frame and basketball background, and you now have an immediate red zone nightmare for opposing defenses. He doesn't have to win through contested catches though. He can also win by creating separation. Now, this is the one area I'm definitely taking Bowers over him, so I'm not trying to say Warren is the greatest player walking the planet, but he can still separate at a high level. He's got great speed to just run away from linebackers in man coverage, and he's got some subtle route running skills to lose defenders at the top of his route. Here on this skinny post, Warren does a great job to stem the defender outside right away to create more space in the middle of the field. He then pushes vertical after widening the defender, so the defender has to flip his hips and try to guard against a potential seam. Finally, with great agility, Warren plants his foot and bursts into the skinny post, creating easy separation. Now, he didn't face a ton of man coverage in college like he will in the NFL, but you could see signs of someone who can create space and be a mismatch problem. For example, this is a stop and go against zone coverage. Ideally, he'd have a linebacker trying to carry him up the seam in Tampa 2 or some kind of man coverage, and you can see how he would just dust the guy. When he slams hard on the brakes, head down, drops his hips, looks inside, and explodes downfield again. If this safety wasn't 7 yards off, then Warren could have easily got behind the guy because you see the safety goes from backpedaling to weight forward, getting ready to drive downhill. But he has enough space to recover and stay on top of the route. Warren also creates space by just being an absolute bully. We don't get to see the whole reps on these two plays, but you can just see when linebackers go to jam him, he runs through the contact without any issue whatsoever. This is something again he has in common with Mike Evans, but Warren can do this to linebackers and safeties, not just corners, because his size and strength are truly overwhelming. His strength also comes in handy when he wants to absolutely run through a defender's face to pick up yards after the catch. He can carry guys for a few extra yards on his back, and you can count on him to fall forwards every time. He forced 19 missed tackles this season, which would have led all tight ends in the NFL, playing much fewer games, by the way. That's why Penn State used him as a runner and not just a pass catcher. Sure, throw him screens or anything underneath and he can turn it into 10, but just snap it to him and run cube power and the guy turns into Derrick Henry for a brief moment, throwing stiff arms and trucking dudes on his way out of bounds, or just taking it around the corner all the way to the house with his impressive speed. I mean, if the guy was coming into the league without any pass catching ability, I'd still consider him in round 3 or 4 as a bulldozing fullback who can run and block at the highest level for the position. But add on to that his ability to moss defenders or his crafty route running, and it's easy to see why he should be a top 10 pick. He's such a well-rounded tight end, and with his quarterback background from high school, he can really have entire packages designed for him by good offensive coordinators. He can change the game plan for a team in short yardage situations as a runner or passer. Swiss Army knife, offensive weapon, matchup nightmare, call him whatever you want, it all fits. And whatever fan base is blessed with him, be ready to have a new favorite player because the guy is just an elite baller in whatever you ask him to do. As for the other teams in the division that he goes to, get ready to curse at the TV for a couple hours 2 times a year when he torches your defense in all kind of ways. If he doesn't go top 10 at the NFL draft in April, then someone got a huge steal because he is going to dominate in every way imaginable and be a perennial Pro Bowler. He's easily one of my favorite players in the draft as long as he stays away from the Raiders, Chargers, or Broncos. Go Chiefs! Because he's the multi-tool menace, Tyler Warren. If there are other draft prospects you'd like to see me break down, then comment below and I'll see what I can do. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I've got a Shadur Sanders video in the making, so I'll see you again soon.